Just wanted to dip my toe into a very controversial topic when it comes to games like this, which is PvP, and more specifically, doing well in PvP as a free-to-play player. So I wanted to give advice on how I think you could be the most effective in a game like this if you really care about PvP, but also are a free-to-play player. First of all, when it comes to these games, you're essentially putting yourself in a position where you're going to be the whale food for people that have spent a ton of money. So I would say if you really want to be competitive, I'd play a completely different game. Just off the rip, like play League of Legends, play Valorant, play anything like that if you really want true skill expression. If you're wanting to play this game and you want to be free to play and you're okay with that, then here's going to be tips to maximize your capabilities in a game like this. And I think in this situation, if you're going to be free to play in a game like this, you have to be willing to class change. The two classes, in my opinion, that are going to be most effective in this are going to be Necromancer and Crusader as a free to play player, because you need to be a class that is effective while doing a minimal amount of DPS. You need to be a utility based class. You're going to be a support player for this if you're going to be free to play, trying to be effective in PvP. And I think the two best of that are Necromancer and Crusader for sure. And then if you're not willing to do that, then you're going to be taking another step back, in my opinion, because the other classes are either damage-based classes in Wizard or Necromancer, or a class that's just bad in Barbarian. That is why, as a free-to-play player in PvP, I think you should go to those two classes. So this video is going to be mainly focused on maximizing being a Crusader, but a lot of the same concepts will apply to Necromancer. So now that we established that, the plan now is to maximize your build to do as much as you possibly can for your team and play in a support environment. The Crusader has a lot of benefits in its kit to do well as a support class. So the main moves that you could bring to the team are all going to be kit based. They don't require any sets in your character, and they're just going to boost up the rest of your team, whether it be through survivability or through extra damage. There's going to be Arrow Keeper. Inspiration from Holy Banner now moves with you. This is super important, especially in PvP, because if you don't have this, then you place the Holy Banner on the ground and it's very easily targetable and can be killed. Yes, it doesn't last as long as the normal banner would, but it's just infinitely better. It doesn't have a health pool. You just carry it and you can move along with it and help boost your teammates. It's just imperative if you're going to be using banner in PvP. And then also keep in mind that you do have to be in a party with the people that you're boosting. So find the biggest people on your team and then be in their party so you can help them out. It's not going to boost everyone, all 8 people. It's only going to boost the other 3 members and yourself in your party within the PvP match. It's going to be Inhuman Plate. This is insane in PvP. I think this is one of the main reasons why I think Crusader is so good, is because Conjuration of Light now lasts longer and protects you and your allies from within an area. So it's a very small AoE, way smaller than the banner, but you're immune to damage within that area. So it's absolutely insane to be able to help support your team with this ability here. So I think the combination of those two things make this a viable class, even if you're not spending, because built into the kit, it goes beyond just your stats here. You're providing things that are just so important to people, and that's why I think they're a good class. I do think that because your melee is going to be rough, you're going to have to position well, you're going to die quick, it's going to be frustrating, but at the same time, you're providing so many useful things for your team. It could be effective at least. So I think the two sets you're going to really want to focus on are going to be Feasting Baron's Pack and Vithu's Urges. I think at varying levels of set items here, because there's a lot of discussion to be had here, and I think a lot of them have merit. There's no just clear-cut better. I would say at least at minimum, it's between these two sets. The other sets are going to be pretty lackluster for you as a free-to-play player. Like Mountbank set is one that you can think of, but since you're free to play, your health pool is really not that big anyway, so it's probably not worth it. I think it's just between Vithus and Feasting Barons. So let's talk about Feasting Baron's Pack first, and we can kind of weigh the pros and cons between going 2-piece, 4-piece, or 6-piece here, or kind of mix and matching between the Vithus Urges and Feasting Barons. So Feasting Barons, the 2-piece, increases the duration of all your abilities that cause loss of control by 30%, which is amazing. Then we have increases the damage done from all sources by 15% to damage suffering under loss of control of your control effects. So when you have them CC'd, you increase their damage by 15%. And then lastly, unleashes a Nova of Ice each time you defeat an enemy afflicted by your loss of control effects. I think for you as a free-to-play, this is pretty bad. The 6-piece is the one I definitely don't like out of all these, because the odds of you killing someone, the odds of you not only killing someone, but then killing them during your CC is very low. So I think this is pretty much worthless for you, and you're never going to proc it. This might be better in a PvE environment if you're going to be CCing enemies and you kill them at that last second, then you get this big nova of ice there. But in PvP, especially as a free to play, I think that's pretty bad. So I think the one that's really good, in my opinion, is going to be just the two-piece, because that increase by 30% is very impactful. Whereas the increased damage done from all sources, yes, you're boosting up your whale teammates. If you're going to be pushing, you're obviously going to have whales on your team by all sources by 15%, but it's only during the suffering of loss of control effects. So it's really not that long that you're going to be boosting that. Whereas over here on the Vithus, now let's talk about these sets, and then we can kind of go weigh the pros and cons, because for the most part, I think Barons is very good, but only the two-piece. That's a really good one. The four-piece is questionable, especially when we compare it to Vithus. So increases the duration of all the beneficial effects. So increases the duration of all beneficial effects on you or party members by 30%. And then the four pieces increases the target's attack speed by 30% for 3 seconds each time you use a skill to grant a beneficial effect to yourself or a party member. So Banner is going to be a really good way to proc on all the teammates there. And you have other effects too that can proc that as well. I would rather be giving attack speed to everyone in my party than just boosting the damage of people that I happen to CC at that moment. I just think it's a more consistent, reliable effect that is equally as impactful. Then you can even argue, each time you use the skill to buff yourself or a party member, you create an area of apotheosis for 12 seconds. So that's a very long time frame. And then you can create this area near the banner that you're pushing in PvP. And then it's going to grant 12% life drain to yourself and any party members in that area. I think the 6-piece set is actually very impactful only in PvP. I don't think it's a very good PvE set. So as a support, this is pretty much the only game mode that you can, that life drain would make a massive difference, and it lasts so long for you to be able to drop that down. I'm not sure, I haven't tested it, if this 30% increase on the two-piece actually affects that 12% at 12 seconds. But I think even without it, 12 seconds is a very long time that would make a big difference in PvP. So it's up to you if you just want to be a pure buffer for your team, or if you would like to throw in the two-piece Barons, four-piece Vithus. But I think Vithus is definitely the better of the two, but I do want to highlight just how good Barons is, so be able to go between the two. But I would at least give it a shot and try see which one you like the most, but that would definitely be my goal on the set items. Keep in mind that these are tips to maximize your effectiveness in PvP as a free-to-play. This is only if you actually enjoy this game mode and are willing to take the less optimal path to play the game. I really don't recommend this if you want to have a balanced playing experience and focus on the PvE side and the PvP side. But this is more about optimizing your build to be the most effective as it can for PvP. So there's going to be certain things that don't necessarily make sense on the PvE side, but will make sense if your pure focus is PvP. Next, we have to look at the trees here. You're definitely going to want to go the Gladiator tree, because you can actually get a lot of potency here. There's 15 times 4 that you can get there. There's some resistance you can pick up, armor, and mainly these square effects. These are the ones you need to actually have this active for to be able to use, but these are just no-brainers. Gladiator is going to be the way to go for sure. Then you can get a ton of armor and resistance in the Survivor tree if you want to get some of that, because increase your block percentage and also reduce their critical hit damage on you when they do crit. So armor is great. Again, there's always going to be the bigger whales. Odds are they're probably going to be still doing crit damage on you, depending on the whale you find, but it usually takes an insane massive whale to get to the point where not only do they have crazy legendary gems, but they also have the normal gems leveled up to where they can actually break through and have like a ton of armor pin. And then there also is some potency you can get in Treasure Hunter. If you come down here, you get damage, you get potency. This is another thing to keep in mind. Treasure Hunter is actually pretty great at that. Vanquisher is just going to be a good source of damage and life. And then armor pins, so this is really not a tree that if you want those circle stats, I would say the main ones are going to be Gladiator for sure. Like Gladiator is a no-brainer, you absolutely have to take it. Treasure Hunter, you can get some potency there. I think that's really good. Plus damage plus armor, I think that's really good. And then lastly, Survivor for more armor, more resistance, stuff like that. Because we've got to remember the circle effects persist always. Square effects, you need it active, and you're going to have Gladiator active for sure in PvP. When it comes to normal gems, the way I look at it is your squishy and your kit based. So you need to have good moves that are going to be impactful. And so the only way to do this is you want to be the one that pulls the trigger and make sure your move works. I think really the only way we can focus on this is maximizing our potency, making sure stuff works. Because if we focus on life gems, we focus on resistance, we're at the mercy of their numbers. They could just have a bigger number than you. Also, the only way we really survive is through kit stuff, like the ability to be immune for a bit for our teammates as a Crusader. That's going to be the way that we are impactful. We need to be able to CC them and hope it works out. If we don't have enough potency, whatever. But I think maximizing our potency is going to be the way that we are the most effective in this scenario. So I would recommend playing the auction house a bit. You get 6 gems from hidden layers, and you get 12 from teaming up as a party of 4. So what I recommend is selling the gems you don't need to then buy more of these gems here, because these are the gems that give you potency. Potency is going to be the thing that gives you more CC percentage based on if you could beat their resistance. Yes, there will always be the bigger whale than you, and it will make this not even relevant, but you at least are maximizing what you can control with this. And I think this is the smartest thing to maximize going here. All of the prices I'm not even going to get into because that's all server based. And if I sit here and compare my prices, you look at your server and it completely doesn't even match up. So I'm not even going to bother. I would recommend focusing on this. You at least have the option, if you're grinding hard enough, 12 gems a day that are unbound, and kind of try to min-max your gems for your build. And I think these are the gems that you should prioritize. And you could even sell the Tourmalines, which Tourmalines and the armor penetration gems that are the ones that are the most expensive, at least on my server, those are the most expensive, probably the most expensive on every server. Kind of hurts for me to say that because I think from a PvE perspective, they're just really good gems and I wouldn't do that. But if you're really trying to maximize PvP, I think these are the best gems for you because damage is not even going to be relevant because you're a support class. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for my thoughts on PvP as a free-to-play player. I know this is a controversial topic. Curious to hear your thoughts down below. If there's any other tips, let us know down below as well. And with that, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.